Okay, you're up, Yuval.
Hey, so the first topic is really a small question. Um, for the bucket logging, I'm adding an API I'm calling canonical name that should give um, names to the different operations that are similar to what appears in the logs in AWS, as much as I can figure it out, although it's not well documented. So my question is, what is the best place to put the implementation? Because I've seen that we have three levels of abstractions or inheritance in the operations. We have like something RGW something operation, and then we have underscore store, and then we have underscore S3. And I wanted to kind of understand why we have those three levels. We don't have them for all operations. We have them for some of them.
Yeah, the S3 one um, is for S3 specific stuff in contrast to the Swift ones. So if you have apps that need to be behaved differently for S3 and Swift protocols, then they go in those subclasses. The obj store ones are generally in RGW REST CC, and I think that's mainly for like REST API HTTP stuff that is common to Swift and S3. In contrast, maybe to like the RGW file NFS integration, which is on HTTP.
Okay.
For bucket logging, I assume that if logging is enabled on a bucket, then Swift reads and writes should probably be logged. Not 100% sure, but in that case, I would argue that it just goes in the base op class.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the
Okay. I
base.
can put everything in the base class, although the names, well, the names start with the term REST. That so if this is not a REST API, then maybe it shouldn't be in the base.
The base of the ops, the ops operations, whatever that was called.
Sorry again.
Either the base class or the what how did you call it, the ops store one? Can you do it on the ops store?
Mhm. Okay. Okay. I'll try
Okay,
to.
so I guess that would mean that if that virtual function doesn't return a name, then we wouldn't log anything.
Oh
Is that
no,
right?
I default to return the operation name, like R, whatever. Like if I have a default implementation in RGW op that just returns the operation name. So I always return something, but it's not according to what AWS would report.
In any case, you
Okay.
shouldn't be implementing it separately for Swift and S3, which are common base that you find them.
Yeah, I'll put it in the underscore store class if possible. The only kind of thing is if it doesn't exist because there's no specific implementation, then I won't inherit and create that just for the sake of this function, I guess. So I'll put that up in the base.
Probably fine as long as you don't force, um, you know, require overriding it everywhere.
Yeah, no, there's no. I think I would even define those functions as final, just to make sure. I mean, there's no point in overriding them further. Okay, I think I got the answer here.
Cool, let's move on.
Okay, so the my second topic, it's the more challenging one. So when I first added the persistent notifications, I uh, I decided to define those queue objects on the log pool. And the reason I did that because I assumed that the log pool is a small and fast pool because it is used for small things. It should be fast, metadata, stuff like that. Lots of small operations. But apparently that sometimes people create the log pool on very slow media. And the reason they do that is because what they assume the log pool is just empty objects, and all the actual information is stored in RocksDB. So from their perspective, it doesn't matter what kind of a media is being used in the log pool because they just use the attributes of the objects and all the objects are empty. And in my case, it's quite the contrary. So because those persistent queues are big objects with lots of small reads and writes, and my assumption that this should be a fast pool is incorrect. So one thing I thought about is, okay, why maybe I shouldn't hard code that. Maybe that should be configurable, so somebody can actually set the pool where those objects will be created, and then it's really up to the user to decide or to know exactly where to put that in the right place. But then I thought that this could be a problem. I mean, if there's only one value, then it never changes, then maybe it's okay. But if the values are going to change, then I'm actually not going to find those objects after being modified. And I thought maybe this is something or problem like pool change that we already ran into and have some kind of an idea of how to solve these kind of issues.
So I typed some stuff in the agenda. The pool name is controlled in zone params, right? There's a notif pool that defaults to a namespace under the log pool.
Right.
So a deployment could set that to some other pool specifically for this.
Right. But what's going to happen to the existing persistent
It would
queue?
stop working.
Okay. So the only way to change that is to actually delete all topics, change the pool name, and then recreate everything.
I mean, if it's just object data, then you could probably copy all of the objects from the current pool to a new one.
Yeah, those are just kind of just read as objects. Okay, so maybe I'll provide like probably through documentation explaining what's need to be done. So like manual copying of the objects. I guess when you do a realm reload to apply the new value, everything needs to stop anyways, right? So yeah, I guess there's no seamless way of doing that. There has to be some kind of downtime.
I agree. I mean, just blindly copying things while notifications are still coming in and appending to the current pool could lose
Yeah.
stuff. But if that's okay, then maybe it's good enough.
Okay. I guess that would be maybe a documented process that requires some downtime or could result with loss of notifications. And as long as we explain that this can happen or how to do that, then I guess it should be okay. We will probably, I mean, currently all the object names and all that is kind of implementation details. It's not documented.
Just a quick question. If it's not explicitly said in conf, you'll still default it to log, right? Log pool.
Yes, the default will be the log pool. I mean, and I guess it is the correct pool in many cases, but apparently not in every case.
And under the notif namespace, right?
Yes. Yeah, I guess I can use the namespace to get the list of all the queues. There's a command like you can get all objects over the subject of a namespace and then get the list of all the pools. Oh, sorry, of all the queues, and then move them over and do the change. Okay, great. Thanks. That's all for me.
Yeah, you also mentioned docs, and we do have a page about pools, but we don't talk about like the performance characteristics that are important to the different pools, and it might be worth trying to improve the docs in that respect.
Oh,
Like especially around bucket index pools, log pools, whether the objects are OMAP or object data matters.
right. Well, I mean, I guess bucket index is also OMAP, right? Those are not real objects.
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter. So yeah, this is where the confusion was. Okay. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on this? Okay, next point was mine. Matt and I were just in a meeting with the dashboard team, and they have been exploring some S3 browser web apps, I guess, and trying to run them against RGW. But Core's errors have prevented that. And so they are interested in extending RGW's support for cores to have kind of global rules that would allow a S3 browser to interop seamlessly. So we have a tracker issue for that with some extra details. I just wanted to raise awareness about it here in case there's other interest in helping out. All right, last up is Yehuda on snapshot stats. Hey, Yehuda.
Yeah, how's it going? So following, like, I spoke with Matt yesterday about this topic, and makes me think we need to kind of come to some consensus. When dealing with snapshots, and right now I'm working on creating snapshots, the stats of the bucket, so that when you do like the head bucket operation and it returns you, it can get you the stats, like the total number of objects and the total size. And there can be multiple directions here. One is, do we return the total number of objects that are in the bucket includes objects that are only inside snapshots, that is, they were removed later, but still in the snapshots? Or do we return the current view of the snapshot, of the bucket, I mean? So if you have 3 objects in the bucket and there's another one hidden in a snapshot that you don't see, just a plain listing, when you do a head on the bucket, do you return 3 objects or 4 objects? So it can do both, by the way. Okay. You can say there are
What
3
what do we
objects.
do
And
with
then, right.
what do we do with version buckets?
You don't have that issue with version buckets. With version buckets, you don't have objects that don't show up on the bucket at all, right? If you do list versions, you're going to see everything.
Mhm.
It's maybe more closely related to what do you do with incomplete multi-part uploads. Maybe. Right, and the importance of this is the twofold. One is, how do we deal with the quotas, right? When for quota, we probably want to see the 4, right? The bucket has 4 objects in it for quota purposes. But also, how do we deal with bucket removal? Bucket removal, you want to treat, if you deleted all those 3 objects that are not in the snapshot and you deleted all the snapshots, even though the snapshots might not have been garbage collected, you want to be able to delete the bucket. So you want to know that it's been cleaned. So at that point you want to see the 3. But what would users be expecting?
Users be expecting from what? Like the head bucket when it
Yeah.
returns stats?
Right.
Yeah. Probably the current view. It might be useful to add stats of like how many snapshots exist. Or, I mean, there are other APIs.
There are other APIs that I can show, I can return both in, like, add new special, headers or something, or attributes. But, most applications are not going to support it. So,
Yeah, I doubt most applications are interested in the extension that we currently have.
right. Well, I think I'll go with the 3 here, the current view. And internally, we can see the 4 and expose it via some other interfaces, or extend the stats to return more information. So,
Yeah, I think we're going to have to make several decisions for the different ways that we use stats. I agree with you on quotas. And I had mentioned the resharding case, which should also be include all the snapshots.
Right. Yeah, I think for most internal uses, we probably want to look at the totals for exposing to the users, probably just the current view.
Yeah. How about Rados GW admin bucket stats? What does that look like?
Can I turn both, right? This one. We control it.
Okay. Are we all in agreement?
That was it. Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other topics today? As far as the tentacle release goes, we are still frozen. I have not heard any updates on timing of release candidates yet. Just continuing to test and merge backports. If there's nothing else, we'll stop here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.